And so just a short thing that is actually apropos to what we're going through right now with the Iran attacks and all the other attacks that we have, and we've been living through huge miracles. It says in this week's parsha, the second to the last pasuk in this week's parsha, it says, "Im shnoisai barak harbi v'terachaz b'mishpat yadi." So it says that Hashiv nekam tzarim masanai ashalem. Hashem says, this listen to what HaKadosh Baruch Hu was saying, the second to the last pasuk of this week's parsha. He says that even though I'm going to take out my sword to be able to, if I need to punish Bnei Yisrael for not keeping the Torah, right? He says, I have to put it back because the fact is that I have to take revenge on their enemies. He says that my enemies, because the enemies of Bnei Yisrael are obviously Hashem's enemies, and because anti-Semitism is not against us, it's against God, right? So therefore, the reason why I have to take revenge on them is because of the fact that that's, even though they're sinning against me, but the reason why they're doing it, the depth of the reason is because of all the influences and all the, the terrible things that they're going through because of their enemies. And that's why we can't keep the Torah. So he says, "Ulemasanai ashalem," I will pay them back. I will pay our haters back. Hashem says, my haters, and he says that that whatever the punishment that Bnei Yisrael were supposed to get because of not keeping the Torah, they're going to get, and plus much more because they were the guilty party. That's what it says from the
vengeance upon the nations. You mean?
Yes, exactly. That's what the Ola Yaakov says in the second to last pasuk of this week's parsha. So we're going to bring out a pasuk from Yeshaya. The pasuk from Yeshaya. The pasuk in Yeshaya says, "V'haya b'yom hahu yitaka b'shofar gadol," and it will be in that day there will be a great shofar will be blown. Uvoa ovdim be'eretz Ashur, v'anidachem be'eretz Mitzrayim. It says that the people that are lost will come from the land in the land of Ashur, Assyria, v'anidachem be'eretz Mitzrayim, and the ones that were rejected or dispersed will come from the land of Mitzrayim, right? V'yishtachavu Hashem b'har HaKodesh b'Yerushalayim, and they'll all come to bow to Hashem in the holy mountain in Yerushalayim. So there's a lot of the questions we have on this pasuk, like first of all, what is it talking about? Basically, it's talking about the time of Mashiach, and we sing that. But it says that it's a famous song. Also, it's like Yuval Ovdim Meretz Ashur. So there's Mikros Gedolos over here. He says that one thing that it seemingly everybody agrees on is that Ovdim Be'eretz Ashur means that, as opposed to Nidachim Be'eretz Mitzrayim, there's two things here. Ovdim Be'eretz Ashur, the ones who were lost in the land of Assyria, and the Nidachim, the ones that were
oh my God.
The ones that were dispersed or scattered in the ones that were scattered in the land of Mitzrayim, or not rejected, I should say, rejected. So nidachim can mean either rejected, or it could be that they're so far out, or something like they're in a place that they are not able to come back from.
Well, we know. Well, that's weird. We know with Assyria, that was the destruction of the first temple, the first exile of the Jewish people, and they're hidden from us right now. Those Jews, right?
The 10 tribes, right,
and that will be revealed. They'll be revealed somehow,
right? Of course,
revealed to them or whatever.
Right.
They'll come back. I don't understand the Egypt thing. I know there was a large Jew. Supposedly, we weren't even supposed to dwell in Egypt after the Exodus.
Right.
But somehow, I guess the Nile Delta, which is the biggest part of Goshen, what was Jewish, land in effect, it wasn't considered actual Egypt. It was like a Outer Banks kind of a thing,
Right.
But on the Mediterranean, but most of the Jews, when they did live in the area of Mitzrayim, they lived in that area right on the coast in Alexandria
Right.
during the second temple time.
After the second temple, right?
No, even before.
Really?
Yeah, the time of Cleopatra and stuff, that was before the temple was destroyed. Alexandria was a major city of like 1 million.
Oh yeah,
people.
meaning during, right, exactly.
They had like
I thought you meant-
250,000 Jews living there or
Right.
whatever, or even more, 500,000 or something.
Right.
Big center of Jewish.
My sister-in-law was born in Cairo,
Oh, really?
Oh,
but her family was originally from
It is
Syria.
That's actually part of ancient Egypt, where Cairo is.
Right.
But what I'm saying is, what do you mean by they were like rejected?
Meaning, basically, we're gonna explain it, but
Oh,
but-
okay, I didn't know
but-
there was more to that
Yeah.
explanation.
But basically, it means that when someone is not in the place where he's supposed to be, whether that means physically or spiritually,
Mhm.
so therefore he feels rejected,
Oh.
or you know what I mean. So that, but
By
we'll get into
Hashem.
we'll get into it.
By Hashem, you
We'll
mean?
get into it. We'll get into it.
By their people.
Right. So
Told them.
so basically, let's just try to make some more sense about the pasuk itself. So it says that that Be'eretz Ashur, okay. Some say there's different explanations from the Radak and Yosef Kara, and the different explanations. But Yosef Kara says that the reason why they're called lost is in the Ashur, in the land of Ashur they're called lost, but in the land of Mitzrayim, that because it was closer, they're called like nidachim, which is more like rejected. But
Like outcasts or something.
right, exactly.
Good.
So, but when it's close, it's like it's close to where they're supposed to be,
That's
which is
what you
Mitzrayim. So therefore, it's rejected. But when it's so far out, they're called lost. Okay, that's what Yosef Kara says. And then he was a contemporary of Rashi, or right after Rashi. Some say that he was actually like in the same time as Rashi, or like one of like he knew Rashi, but I don't see how it's possible because they say that he was born around the time that Rashi passed away. So that doesn't I don't understand that. But anyway, so and then the Radak says that what it means is that the Shvatim that went on the other side of the river, right? That the Melech, the king of Assyria, exiled them. So that's what it means when it says they were like lost because they were not able to get out of there, because by Gullus Vogel, by the exile of the Babylonian exile, he says that was Yehuda and Binyamin. And they came back after the end of 70 years. Part of them, right, true. Or I should say most of them, I think.
I think most of them didn't.
Really?
Pretty sure. It
Okay.
was a big disappointment, actually, for Ezra and
Oh yeah, right.
that's
Yeah,
right.
that's true. That's right. That's right. Ezra and Nehemiah were not happy about that. Right. So, but and then they were exiled a second time, and they were spread out all over.
Romans.
Right.
Finally.
But the thing is like this. He says that the reason why it's considered, it says like Ashur means Assyria, right? But Ashur also comes from the word Asher, Osher, meaning happiness. They were so happy with their money and with their their good lives that they were leading, so therefore they didn't want to come back to Israel.
Oh.
They were staying there,
Right
right?
right now.
So basically, and also the ones in Mitzrayim, the ones that when it's talking about Mitzrayim, is those are the Jews that are outside of Israel, or even possibly, I don't know, possibly the ones that are in Israel that are still suffering. And Mitzrayim comes from the word having constraint and very constricted. So therefore, wherever this doesn't have to be necessarily Mitzrayim, it can be anywhere the Jews were actually not able to come because they were of the suffering and not able to, it was very hard to come to Israel, right? So therefore, so then he says that, so that's what it means. The Ovdim Be'eretz Ashur is common, it's by at least Rabbi Shai Mitrani and Yosef Kra, and I think the Radak also agrees that they're talking about the 10 Shvatim, the Ovdim, the ones that were lost in Eretz Ashur, but it can also refer to, Jews that are not in Eretz Israel because of either, it's something that
It's just hard to leave.
it's hard to leave.
You get
Yeah,
stuck in
it
it.
gets stuck and it's hard to leave. And
Moet dat nog eens
um,
draaien?
and also,
Moet dat
and
nog
the-
weer met draaien?
thing.
what?
The judge.
If it's just hard to leave, would that not weer met draaien then?
Not, it depends why it's hard. It could be hard physically or it could be hard,
Because of the example now. That's
yeah, well, it could be also
because
because people can't, people come to visit, but they can't see themselves living in Israel.
exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
Like what a lot of people say, Hasidim in Antwerp said this also to me. Asking about Aliyah, they said like, "But I'm gonna give up my house here for the small room in Israel."
Okay, listen, that's
Like,
going to
would
change.
it-
It's
but
going to change.
Of course,
Right
but
now.
that I think that would be more Mitzrayim than Ashur, no?
That's why Hashem is lighting
Right,
fire under
could
their
be,
feet right now.
But could be.
I think maybe Mitzrayim is like the Jews
It's
in it,
Gashmiut.
but you're still in Galut.
It's
Like you
Gashmiut.
could return to the land, but you could still be in Galut. It's not.
Well, we're still in Galut, even though we're in
Right.
the land. But
But there's different levels, though.
true. But I'm saying
It's
we're
not.
there's no. Yeah, but we're still in Galut. There's no question. We're in Galut.
So that's also a spiritual exile that we have a distance from God that we can't.
Of course,
see over.
I mean,
Also, even though we're
Who's
here,
ruling the
land,
country?
Yes.
It's not God. It's like
Right.
they're not. I mean, God is behind the scenes, but nobody. We're not ruling the country with a vision and knowing that this is God and this is Malchut Beit David. It's not Malchut Beit David. It's not.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? So, we can say we came from to Israel and that's great,
Right.
but it's not the goal. The goal is coming to Israel and its redemption.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? So anyway, okay. So the Nesivos Shalom asks on this pasuk. Now that we have more of an understanding of what the pasuk means, Nesivos Shalom asks that he says, "What is it that is so important about this?" It's clearly connected. It says it will be on this with this great shofar, right? And then the great shofar will bring these people all these people that were lost in Ashur, and the ones that are nidachim, rejected in Mitzrayim. It will be all of a sudden that they'll come, and they'll come to bow down on the holy mountain of Yerushalayim. So the Nesivos Shalom asks, what is so special about the power of the shofar, this great shofar, to be able to bring people that are lost from everywhere and rejected? What is so special about this, the power of the shofar? So he starts to explain. He says that we know that it's referring to Rosh Hashanah, right? Tomorrow night. It's referring to Rosh Hashanah. That the fact is that we went ahead and we transgressed against the covenant that we had with Hashem, right? The deal that we have with Hashem, we went against it. And therefore, what is Rosh Hashanah? We're coming to renew it, renew that covenant with Hashem. Okay? Because Rosh Hashanah is the time of the renewal of the entire creation. Okay? Yes, Hashem recreates the world every day, as we say in Birchas Kriya Shema, but Rosh Hashanah is the time that he actually created the world, and even the Machlokas in the Gemara was he created the world then or Nisan, but either way,
But
Right.
yeah,
Well, either way, the finishing, even if it was right, the finishing was
Yom
Rosh
Kippur.
Hashanah,
Yeah.
right? So Yom Shabbat, actually,
Right.
That would be the finishing, right? So, but even if he didn't create, so according to the Mandamer that says he created it in Nisan, but the machshava, the thought, the planning, or what he thought about it was in Rosh Hashanah. So either way, this is very, very auspicious time, and therefore we have to go ahead and we have to renew our deal with Hashem, as well as being Mamlech Hashem, to make Hashem our king. Okay, so shofar happens to be the Rosh Tevos of Shoresh Pora Rona Rosh Velana. We know that the root of all evils of our whatever we have in our hearts, whatever the things that we go against Hashem with, whether it's our passion or it's because we don't believe in God, God forbid, or we believe in other things, God forbid, right? All these different things comes from the it's literally called the wormwood. It's a root of like a root that is deeply inside the ground, and it's not hard. It's not easy to get out, and therefore it keeps on growing other stuff from it. And therefore, if let's say I have a certain desire to eat a cheeseburger, God forbid, right? And one time I go ahead and I work on myself, and I'm not going to have it, right? But deep down, it's still there. Right? I worked on it for this one time, but somewhere it's still there. And that's called this deep rooted, evil that we have, or not evil, more of like a passion for doing something against God, a desire to doing something against Hashem. So that's what the acronym for shofar is Shoresh, Pore, Rosh, Vilana. It's the same letters. Shoresh, Pore, Rosh, Vilana. Okay? And that what the Torah talks about is what is guiding us to go against Hashem. Okay? So the shofar is the thing that its acronym is to be able to bring us out of it. So he says that it's a very, very strong desire that we have, and it has to be. It's like something like Mark Twain said that it's easy to quit smoking. I've done it 1,000 times. So you can keep on thinking that you're actually, but you're really. It's a constant work, and if Hashem doesn't help us, there's no way we can possibly at any time ever go against the Yetzer Hara. So it says that in order to have this victory in our din in Rosh Hashanah, so we have to go ahead and try to be miskaber. We have to totally mitgaber, is to work against it and go above and really go against this thing. And how do we do that? Through the shofar. And he's going to explain. He says that it says which is something that we say Rosh Hashanah night from the Mizmor, from the it's the Sunday's Yom that we say in Shir Yom on Sunday. So that's it comes from that parak in Tehillim, and it says Se'u sha'arim rashechem v'yinasu pischei olam v'yavo melech hakavod. Right, that your heads should be lifted to the gates, and it should be the openings of the universe should be shown, and the Melech HaKavod, our King, the Hashem, should be able to come in. So what is this referring to? He says that shofar is also the acronym for Sha'arim Rashechem V'inasu Pischei, that the gates of your head, or like our brains and our hearts, right? V'inasu Pischei Olam, because heart is translated also in Hebrew, lev is translated as heart, but it also means mind. like chovos halavavos means the duties of the heart, but it also means duties of the mind, because really that guides us, right? The heart guides us. So it says that sha'arim roshechem nasu pischei, that roshechem, the head is the mind, right? Pischei olam, it's the opening of the heart. That the main point of shofar is to really uplift us in a way that we should be able to open our hearts when we stop, we listen to shofar, we stand and we give it attention, that we really should be able to open our hearts totally to Hashem as opposed to what we were doing beforehand. So that's when it says Su Sharim Rashechem, is that we are actually going ahead and we're uplifting ourselves from what we were in the past, and we're uplifting ourselves in a way that we see that everything is Hashem, that it's all Hashem, and there's nothing else besides it, and therefore our whole, all our attributes, all our characteristics, everything that we have, if we see that everything's going to change, just wait a second, what have I been doing? What have I been using my mind for, and all my abilities? What am I using it for? I'm using it for the things that are totally against what should be. And that's why it's coming to able to understand and really get into what the mode that we're supposed to be in. So all my desires change and it becomes holy.
To hear the sound of the shofar, is that a call from Hashem? Is that a
Also,
wake-up call?
it's a wake up call for us, for sure.
That's what I'm saying. And so
Right.
it's supposed to pierce our soul, right?
Right.
The sounds and everything.
Right. So and then once we're letting Hashem in, then we have the ability and the honor to be able to crown him as our king. Okay. So now he comes and talks about besides the fact, and when it comes to shofar gadol, a great shofar, a big shofar, right? It says, besides the fact of the obvious, which we have a constant, like I think somebody came back from war one time in the Chavetz Chaim, he came to me, he says, I finally, I'm safe. I got out of war alive. And he says, now you have to start the real war. And he says, what do you mean? He says, the war against the Yetzer Hara, because that's the real war. That's the war that's much greater, much harder. He says, besides that, and besides the fact of, to be uprooting that root of evil that we have, he says for each and every one of us, we have our duty in this world is something to fix. We have something to fix in this world. You have something to fix that's different than I have. Everybody has their own job. So, and that means that we have our own route, not just the regular route, but something that's hard for me could be easier for you, and vice versa, right? Right. So it's much harder for me to do something that it comes out much easier for you, right? And therefore, we have to work on our own personal things as well. So therefore, in order to really uproot that from us, and in order to really come in a way that we are fixing it, it comes by the only way we can do it is through supernatural power. And how do we get the supernatural power? It says that the work that we have to, when we accept upon ourselves on Rosh Hashana to really serve Hashem, he says that when we come to the point of bowing to Hashem, what does it mean? So the Sfarim say, Shulchan Aruch says that we have to bow really far down. When we are saying V'anachnu Karim, we're bowing to, whenever we bow to Hashem, besides the Rosh Hashanah and Kippur that we actually go down on the floor, but besides that we have to bow that it should be lower, or come to our waist, or something like that. That we really should bow. And when we do that, we're submitting ourselves to, subservient to a God, and therefore it's a very holy thing to do, to be able to realize what we're doing when we actually do it. Now, so that in itself, if we're doing it with the proper intentions, then what we're saying is that we're being mevatel our yeshus. What does that mean? We are nullifying our our existence. The fact that we exist, the fact that we have anything, is all from God. So if we go ahead and bow down and we're really having the proper intention, we're saying anything about us is all nullified to God. Okay, so that is something that we can actually do that's within our power. But then to be able to totally, we can do that in a way, but it's only up to a certain level. Because once we finish davening, or maybe even just finished bowing down, we're back to our regular lives, and we think of ourselves as, yeah, I have something, I got something, or else, what am I doing? Everything means something, right? So the only way to really do it completely is to be able to have this supernatural power that even when a person comes to a time when there's, sometimes we have, do I really believe that Hashem is going to get me out of this? Do I really believe that there is Hashem altogether? Like, yes, sometimes I do. Sometimes it's harder. Sometimes, there's all different. That's what we say in Mizmor Shir L'Yom HaShabbos. It says, "Lahagid baboker chastecha v'emunoscha b'leilos," right? To be able to tell Hashem, to tell over, not necessarily to Hashem, to anyone in the morning time, I can tell over the miracles of Hashem, right? Or the kindnesses that Hashem does for me. But during the nighttime, it's only my faith. Meaning, because in the night, Boker means not just morning, it also means the time of light that I can see and understand what's going on. So in that time, when I understand what's going on, right, that's the time where I can, that's the time where I can actually see, and it's easy for Hashem, it's easy to be able to see Hashem amongst us. But when it's nighttime, meaning that it's dark, and I see only troubles and disasters and this and that, so therefore I can only tell over, the belief that I have in Hashem. That's it. More than that, I can't. I don't have any more to tell over because I don't see it. Even if I totally believe in God completely, that's the only thing I can, because I don't see the actual goodness of what I'm going through. So, so he says, now, what he says is that when we say Ovdim, the ones that are lost in Assyria or like spread out all over the world, right? So he says that he says that means that I really don't believe enough in God, right? Why is that? He says he takes it from the words Arami Ovid Avi, from Lavan in the time of the Agada. So it says Arami Ovid Avi, that my father was, right, when we're talking about Lavan was this type of person where he only believed in himself. He didn't believe in God, he didn't believe in anything, right? And we see, what does it say? See how in some kind of, denial he was, complete denial, when he comes chasing after Yaakov, when Yaakov left with his family. So he says to Yaakov, he says, Habanos benosai banim banai, that the daughters, all your children, right? They're mine, and your sons are also mine. They're all mine, and everything that's here is mine. He says, whatever you see here, it's all mine. So like the guy worked for him for so many years, right? For his daughters, and this, are you serious? Like, how does that make sense, right? But this was Lavan. And he says so it's just like the Agada, the pasuk, it says Arami Oved Avi. Oved is talking about Lavan, that he was lost. He was so lost because of the fact that he believed that everything was his, right? So too, he says this Ovdim, what we're talking about is people that, Jews that were lost in such a way that they don't have the ability to come out of it. It's very hard to come out of it, right? This loss of belief, true belief in Hashem. So, and he brings down a pasuk from I think it's in Mishlei, but I'm not sure.
What's true versus untrue belief in Hashem? I don't.
What do you mean?
I mean, you either do or you don't.
No, there's all different
There's
levels.
different levels.
There's all different levels, exactly.
Ah, that's what you mean.
Meaning,
really sincere.
no. Well, yes, that too. But I'm saying I can believe in Hashem, but yes.
When
But
something bad happens, do you say?
Do I just blame Hashem when something bad happens, or when something good happens? Do I say thank you Hashem, or do I say no? This is what I did. I did it because, and I went through all the effort, and now I have this. Well, hello, that's me, right? No, it's not. It's God.
So we're talking about degree of trust.
Right. It's all degree of trust and faith. Exactly.
Which is
Right.
endless levels because
It's-
keep
yeah.
on testing you and testing you and testing you.
Right.
Until
Right. 100%.
Sorry, not to discourage.
Talk to me. Yeah.
Not to discourage.
Right. So it says that he says in this pasuk that he brings, he says, Kol bo'eha lo yeshuvun le'archas hachayim. Says that whoever comes to this, it's a metaphor that I think it's Shlomo Melech. I think it's in Mishlei. It's a metaphor that he's using. He says that whoever comes to this woman doesn't come back, doesn't return. And the metaphor he's using is that this enticement of belief in other things as opposed to God.
It's definitely Shlomo Melech.
What?
It's definitely Shlomo Melech.
Yeah, you think so?
Either Mishlei or Kohelet.
I think it's Mishlei, but I'm not sure. So he says that whoever comes to this woman, quote unquote, be enticed by this belief in others other than God, or even that I do believe in God, but I know that it's kochi v'otzim yadi, it's my hand that did this. It's my effort that put this through, and it worked. So a person can believe that too, and that's not fully anywhere near fully belief in God, right? So he says it's very hard to come back out of this, very hard to come out of that type of belief that it's not God, it's not all God. So, and therefore you need something that is supernatural, and that's what the koach of the shofar, when we let ourselves really be subservient to Hashem in a way that we understand what's really happening. I think, with all the miracles that we're going through, and we're living in a constant, huge miracles. It's not like, in a way, anything that we've lived through here in Tzfat was very, very amazing and very spectacular miracles that it doesn't make any sense that how many times that we had, I would say at least like over 2,000 missiles since the beginning, October 8th, when Hezbollah wanted to show solidarity with Gaza and start, shooting rockets at the north. So basically, I made a quick calculation. It's got to be at least 2,000, like very.
From October 8th?
From October 8th.
At least over 2,000.
Yeah, I'm saying that it's a very lowballing estimate.
Over.
Yeah,
They said
it's
over
well
9,000 in all.
in the north. But I'm talking about Tzfat itself.
Just now,
I'm talking about Tzfat itself. I think that from all the things that we hear, anyway, it's got to be around 2,000 at least. And I just spoke Erev Shabbos to a Hatzalah guy, and he said that he hears everything that's going on in Tzfat. From all, in anything that happened in Tzfat, the injuries, okay, from the beginning, from October 8th, there was one girl, I have to say it with a smile because it wasn't directly from the missiles.
Running to a shelter?
Running to a shelter, she tripped and got hurt. Other than that, no injuries. Right. It's not
It's mind-boggling.
mind-boggling. It's mind-boggling, right? And you would say that this pales in consideration to what happened with the ballistic missiles in April. That was, each missile was the size of a bus, and 300 to 400 of them, and nobody was hurt. There was one Druze, I think, that was, right? A better one or something, right? But right, but it doesn't make any. There's no only God. There's not,
She didn't die.
So I think. Oh, really?
Yeah, she lived.
She lived. Wow.
The
was
rockets
just like-
2 Fridays ago. There was
Like,
strap
one of them-
fell. I was on the other side of the street in a gas station, open.
Where was this?
2 Fridays ago.
Oh, yeah?
Your first Shabbos back.
Yeah.
The big rocket where there was the big fire.
Oh, right.
I was watching it live from the street. I was by the gas station. And I see it go,
Gas station,
"Oh,
good
my
place to
goodness."
be. Gas
I
station.
didn't. I was so whatever. God,
Right.
I just froze. I was just watching. Like, oh, interesting. And then intercepted, and then all of a sudden, like I see something go, and it lands across the street in the
Oh my
forest.
gosh.
Big fires.
Yeah,
go
but
out.
thank God
Wow.
it didn't hit the tanks at the gas
didn't-
station.
It didn't hit anybody.
Yeah.
And then the
Thank
fires
God.
were burning in the whole fields. My sister just moved down, and the fires came within 10 feet of the houses, and then it stopped all over there. The whole field was on fire.
Another
The
miracle.
playground.
Yeah.
And it just stopped.
Unbelievable. And as you were, somebody mentioned Ein Zaytim, right? So I just heard from the same Hatzalah guy. He told me there's somebody he knows that lives in a forest right outside of Ein Zaytim. He's the only one living in the forest.
Oh, I heard. Yeah.
You know, only one living. Oh, I mentioned this. I mentioned on Shabbos. I
The
did.
forest over there.
Yeah, you weren't here, so you didn't hear it. The forest near Ein Zaytim.
He had a house
Right?
with his kids.
So he basically
When it flooded.
You could see it. You could see it from
ago,
the spot.
and they had to rescue him and his children from there.
Anyway,
young
so-
Baal Shem Tov, you mean?
I don't know. Maybe I don't know. But anyway, in this it says it near Miron. Like
Yeah, Baal Shem
so basically he moved there. He's the only one. Shimmy, you hear this? He's the
Yeah.
only one living there in this forest.
Mm-hmm.
And he one time one of the missiles fell onto his gas tank. Okay, so it blew up the entire house. Nothing left, and it was at nighttime. I don't think it was the middle of the night, but he wasn't there
Oh.
because he had married his daughter, and that was the chasana that night. So he was away.
Wow.
It's like so. Like yes, there's a huge. The ballistic missile was huge, and pales anything that happens here pales in consideration with that because one ballistic missile could take out a city. But the thing is, when Hashem shows such directing, like hashgacha,
Does
divine,
get hurt?
yeah.
Doesn't get hurt from the rocket. Gets her from like tripping. or,
Right,
like,
something like- you know what I'm
running,
saying?
Like, he makes it. It's like no,
it's
nothing
like
to do.
no, it's like, and it's unbelievable. This is it's so spectacular. So thank Hashem, and like I said, Hodl Hashem ki tov ki l'am chasda. Zer Shimshon says that the more that we thank Hashem, the more we get miracles, the more we get more from His kindness. So we should continue thanking Hashem to be able to that this pasuk that we're talking about in Yeshaya should actually come true very, very soon and happy days.
I have this video